All right, today we are diving headfirst into a really provocative piece from the Daily Beast. It's all about Trump's approach to the war in Ukraine, and let me tell you, it does not hold back. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the author David Rothkopf starts with this quote. I mean, wow, that pretty much sets the stage for his entire argument, you know? It's a sign that this is going to be a deeply critical take. And hey, while we're here, if you like these deep dives, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So what's the author's big idea here? Well, he claims this whole peace process isn't really a serious negotiation at all. He actually calls it a farce. And a farce for what? He says it's all designed to feed what he calls Trump's pathological narcissism. Yeah, so according to this piece, those meetings you've seen weren't really about fighting peace. The author's view is that other world leaders were basically just playing defense, kind of running damage control, just trying to manage Trump instead of having a real good faith negotiation. Okay, now let's get into how the author describes the man at the center of all this. And he paints quite the picture. Let's just say it's vivid. Talk about a disconnect. The author lays out this huge gap between how Trump sees himself and how the article describes him. So you've got world's peacemaker on one side, and on the other, Rothkopf is using phrases like pathological narcissism, and even brings up a quote from Trump's own dad calling him not a well bucket. The contrast is just whoa. And oof, this is maybe the most brutal analogy in the whole piece. It's his whole emperor's new clothes argument in a nutshell, that in his view, world leaders are just telling Trump what he wants to hear to avoid a meltdown, instead of, dealing with reality. So we've covered the personality, but what about the actual policies being proposed? According to the author, it's not exactly a straight path. It's more like a chaotic gymnastics routine. You got to admit, that's a heck of an image, right? The author's point is that the policy positions are flipping and flopping so fast that it's just total chaos. It's a pretty clever way to say the whole process is unbelievably inconsistent. And the article lists this dizzying back and forth. First, he's going to end the war in 24 hours. Then, actually, no, he can't. Then it's, we need a ceasefire, followed immediately by being against a ceasefire. A big meeting's on the table until a call with Putin. And suddenly, poof, it's gone. It's whiplash, just like the title says. But, okay, beyond all the personality stuff and the chaotic process, the author points out that there are some very real, very serious obstacles standing in the way of any peace deal. And then there's this number, $100 billion. Yeah. The article claims one idea floated was for Ukraine to pay $100 billion for U.S. security guarantees. The author doesn't call this diplomacy, he calls it a protection racket. So the author says the whole thing is basically stuck. Russia won't give back land, Ukraine wants security guarantees. But he says the real issue is trust, or a total lack of it. European leaders don't trust Trump, and literally nobody trusts Putin. And on top of all that, the author flat out says Trump doesn't have the skills for these kinds of talks. So after all that, what's the bottom line here? According to this piece, is a real peace deal even possible? What's the final verdict? And there it is. I mean, that's just dripping with sarcasm. He's basically saying the chance of a lasting peace deal coming out of this process is zero. Absolutely zero. It's pure fantasy, in his opinion. The article wraps up with one last jab. Rothkopf says, look, peace might happen, maybe just because everyone gets too exhausted to keep fighting. But if it does, he argues, it'll happen in spite of, not because of, any skill from the person he sarcastically calls the King of Queens.
So David Rothkopf's piece argues this whole thing is a dangerous charade, which leaves us with a pretty big question, right? Is any attempt at peace, even a chaotic one, better than no attempt at all? What do you think? Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe for more explainers like this one. Thanks for watching.